name is Helen Owens, and welcome to Finding Our She Compass, the show that helps you navigate your life. As we all know, sometimes in life, waves come into your life. So I'm here today with all my shipmates, and they're going to help me navigate. So let me introduce them to you. We have Lisa, Ann, Angie, and Selma. And we're going to talk today about a very important topic, finding your genius. I'm going to be asking some very important questions to these ladies because I've been knowing all of my panel hosts for a long time. So I think this is something that we can all elaborate on. So I'm going to ask first, I'm going to ask Ann. Hi, Ann.
Hi, Helen.
How are you today?
I'm well.
I'm going to have a conversation with you first, Ann, today about finding your genius. We've talked a lot in the salon and over the years about this topic. We all have. So I would like to know if you think that you're at the point in your life where you think that you finally found yours.
I think to answer that question properly, I think what I have to first say is that we all think we've reached a fork in the road. And what I've learned now being a woman in midlife, that we have many forks in the road. And I want to encourage the ladies and people out there to realize that there are many forks, and you can reach so many different levels of accomplishment and genius as time progresses. Sometimes it's being a mother, sometimes it's working in a profession, sometimes it's changing a job. Yes. I'm at a point in my life where I'll be about 4.5 years from retirement from the job that I'm currently doing in the legal field, but I have dreams of doing something else in the future in teaching. So no, I haven't yet found my genius. I'm moving to another place.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. And that's all a part of being who we are as women, because we're always searching for the next step in our life. This is a really important topic to me because I really think that this is something for me. I think that most women have many, don't you think, Selma?
Yes.
Many parts of their genius in their life where it's like continual. As we get older, we find more and more things that we do and that we didn't even know that we are so great at. What do you think about that?
I do. Speaking of genius, I think depending on where your life has taken you or what your road was,
yes.
Mine, I would say I have found my genius in my motherhood.
Yes.
With 3 adult, wonderful human beings as my children. Completely confident in that. I've reached the pinnacle of what my skill is as a mother.
Yes.
However, as a woman, which I was before I was a mother,
yes.
at this age in my life, there is a lot of mystery. I don't really know exactly what road I'm going to take. And it's kind of baffling, actually, because when you're younger, you know you have to raise your kids, get a job, to get a car, to have a house, to put your kids in school, to feed and clothe them. Then you're done with that, and finding what's a comfortable place can be difficult.
And this is a question I have for you as well, and this will be something you can elaborate on too, Angie. Being a mother, not only being a mother, but being a young mother. Now, me, myself, I was a teenage mom. So there's a lot of things that as a woman, you feel like you may have missed in raising your children and trying to be the best mom that you can be. Do you have something that you can elaborate on with that, Angie? Maybe?
Yes, actually. So I had my first son when I was 18.
Yes.
I did get, I missed prom. I missed all the going out in the fun parties in the Bay Area and at a young age. So, but it made me who I am today.
Yes.
Now I have 5 children, but it's amazing how things that happen to us in our lives, whether it's good or bad, because we have to take both and learn from them and use those as our guide.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so you're raising a child as a young mom, you're missing out and you're seeing everybody going to proms and college and going to a fraternity and having all this great stuff.
Yeah, but you know what's really funny about that? You don't even realize the things that you're missing when you're a teenage mom because you're so busy engulfed in being a great parent, especially when someone tells you that that's not something that's possible. Because I know for me, I was even younger when I was 15, and so I was not even supposed to do anything in life but just be a failure, because I can see from the point of view from someone older thinking, and they're looking at you as a child, and you don't really know you're a child because you're just thinking, I want this baby, I'm going to love this baby, and I'm going to give my whole life to this baby, and people are looking at you like you don't know what you're stepping into.
Right.
So there's two sides to that story. Did you kind of go back and relive any part of your life that you think that you missed out on?
Well, I had that same experience. Everybody, oh, you're going to be a failure. You're not going to do anything. You're going to be a mother on welfare, and da-da-da.
Right.
Well, lo and behold, I showed them.
You sure did.
But
Right.
yes, I would say when I hit my 20s, I don't want to say I went out and rebelled or relived, but my kids were a little bit older.
Right.
So me and my husband at that point decided, okay, it's time to, we went to the club and experience, and that got old real fast.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, so this is what the hype is, like, really? But it was fun.
Yeah.
But,
Well, reliving our lives too as young people who quote unquote made that mistake,
Right.
as people call it, and then you have to look at your children and think this was no mistake,
Right.
because you love your kids, whether you have them young or whether you have them older. Now, speaking to Lisa, what's your take on that, Lisa?
Well, my story is very similar to Angie's, because I had my first daughter at age 17, and because I thought I wanted someone to love me, my own.
You had that
I
too.
wanted, yes,
Yeah, I
and
had that same thing.
yeah, and I grew up in I'm an Air Force brat, so I grew up in a pretty strict house, but I was also the one that my parents relied on the most. I was the most responsible, so for me, it was, as I look back, it was disappointing because I disappointed them.
Right.
But I also think about what I missed out on. I graduated a year early, which I thought I was very proud of that, but I wasn't able to walk with my class. I lost contact with all of my friends.
Yeah, especially back then.
Right.
They didn't let you walk the stage. Yeah, I remember
I
that.
didn't get to walk the stage. And
Isn't that something? Because girls now, they have that opportunity. Times had to change tremendously, because back then I couldn't walk the stage either.
And I think it just feels like a huge accomplishment for a young woman to walk the, like, wow, I did this,
Yeah, to even make it through, knowing that you have this child.
Right.
And then that's a double-edged sword too. So you just think about, you've been slapped down twice, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking this thought just occurred to me, since we're talking about she compasses, and in my situation, another aspect of that was I was married.
Yes.
I got married very young.
Yes.
But my she compass mother, and I came from a world where you're supposed to get married.
Yes.
You're supposed to cook and sew and clean the house and stay married.
Yes.
So here I was, really shouldn't have gotten married when I did, in retrospect. I love my children, but I was trying to play a role that was being forced on me in order to be an acceptable woman in my family.
Yes.
So when I found myself in an abusive marriage and had to make the decision to escape that, to be alone and not have the support as a woman should from your mom, maybe your grandmother, your aunties, the females. In this day and time, you can probably find people to surround you and support you in that.
Yes.
Back then, I was like a prodigal daughter. I was not supposed to leave and escape that situation.
Right.
So to be 24 years old with 3 children, running for my life without any support, it also is just a different way to look at the importance that it would have been to have had female support, to have had women like this, like yourself, to call and say, I really, this is a world I wasn't prepared for.
And see, this is what we're talking about. This is the point we're making today, too, with this book. It's really important to know that this book talks about a lot of these things that sometimes we can't talk about with other women, and having women come together as a friendship and really embracing each other and showing each other that The empowerment you can't find maybe in family, you find them in friends. But women don't understand sometimes that tight niche that they have or should have and what we can do with that. There's so much power in that. So Ann, what do you think about that?
Well, listening to everyone discuss this issue made me think that I'm the one person at the table that has a completely different point of view since I have no children. So I've never been a mother raising a child. I've mentored a lot of people, but I think that's slightly different from being someone's mom. So I've never had that experience. But what I do have in common with some of the ladies in the book is that what it made me think about was my beginnings. And the fact that I was 11 when my father passed away. You were also very young when your father passed away.
Yes.
And I remembered reading that portion of the book that talked about how you felt like you couldn't breathe, that all the air had been taken out of the room, basically. And but it made you able to have a more of a clear vision, probably at age 11 or 12, more so than any of your kids that you knew in school, because it did that for me.
Yes.
And it made me realize that life is not always linear. There's not always a linear progression. There's not always a perfect time to have children. There's not always a perfect time to be married or to stay married. And so that experience in coming from the South, that experience made me different, immediately different from everyone else. And I was forced to go my own way and think outside of the box.
Well, it changes your life. It totally changes your life, you know. And I can relate to you as well, Lisa, when you said that, you know, having your children was something to have love you. Because when you lose, when you feel like, and you lost everything, like in my dad, I just felt like my whole world was just torn apart at that point. So I felt like I lost everything. So no one to love you. And I think a lot of young girls experience that when they have children, that there's going to finally be someone who loves you solidly, someone who loves you wholly, and to make you feel whole. But you don't understand the consequences of what you're getting yourself into at that age, because I think that if I could speak to any one of you about teenage pregnancy or having your children young, it's a beautiful thing, but a very bad choice, because you miss out on so much of your own life. It could, because you're a good mom, because you're giving your life, whether you're giving your life at 15 or 20 or 30, being a good mom is being a good mom. Cut and dry. You're either a good mom, you're a good parent, or you're not. And we're all learning together, no matter what age you have a child, you know. But you as you grow, you know that there's so much that you give first. So then finding your own genius takes a lot longer, because you're giving all your genius to these other human beings. And you're sacrificing so much to love them and give them that support that you're putting yourself second. So I would say that if I had to do it all over again, I would have the two children I have. I love them so much, but knowing and understanding your feelings, because as a child, how do you know and understand the feelings that you're having? Those emotions are so deep, and you're giving all this love to another human being, and you're not understanding that time goes very fast.
Yes, it does.
And it's just so we're living our life now. The time goes so quickly, and trying to catch up with lost time, and then you're feeling, I have all these great things to offer. What did I miss? You can't help but wonder what you missed on your part of your life.
Right. But I also think it also educates us as young moms. Like, I feel like my son educated me on how to grow up faster, how to be more responsible.
You're teaching you as you go.
So it's you're learning, they're learning, you're being a parent. And it's, you know, like you were saying, there's no right time to be a parent. You know, my aunts and uncles used to say, you got to plan to get married, plan to have a kid. Okay, well, if I waited for that, Lord knows how long that would have been. I think it's just, it's in you.
It works for some people. Some people live in a plan. I've never been the kind of person that lived in a plan. You know, some people do live in a plan, but, you know, I'm very, very sporadic with things anyway. I'm like a person, I'm on it. I think it, and I want to do it, and then I want to put it in motion. But we know how long something takes. It takes a long time.
Right.
Easy to say, not so easy to do. Takes a
Right.
very long time to put things in motion.
Right.
That's true. And also what I related to you a lot in finding our She Compass, different but related to you on our mothers.
Oh.
And just like you said, how some people may have a child to love them,
Yes.
I can honestly say I think I wanted to be the mother that I didn't have,
Yes.
which is very different. You know, as an adult, I can say she did the best as she could.
Oh, yeah.
And I think when they know better, they do better.
Right.
But I remember consciously always thinking about, my mom didn't talk to me about this. Let me talk to my children. Let me have a relationship with my children.
Let me ask you a
show
question.
them that.
Was your mom a young mom?
No, she wasn't.
No.
She got married about 20.
No, teenage
But
mom.
it was, she was raised in a world where, I'm not sure where the term child development or child psychology was invented, but it wasn't in the 60s.
Right.
And so I think her role was just, you know, there was no talking. There was more of a dictatorship. No one asked about your feelings.
Right.
No one taught you how to be a woman, really, other than cooking and sewing.
Yeah.
So when I had my children,
Well, that's the seen, not heard.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm a very outgoing
what you're
person
saying,
that
yeah.
was like shackled, you know, verbally.
Yes.
And I refused to be that type of mother to my children. So it wasn't so much I needed them to love me. It was more like I need to be the mother I wish I had, even to this day.
Could I interject and add on to something about that? I think all of us experienced trying to become women as a reaction to, or either as a pattern of the mothers that we had.
Yes.
We either wanted to be them or wanted to be someone that we wanted them to be, but they weren't.
Or we wanted that
I agree.
formula. There was that mix. There were some things that you wanted to be on your own, and some things that you wanted to be like hair. I loved my mom's hair. I loved the way she dressed. I loved how beautiful she looked. I wanted to be her in that image. But there were other things that I felt like I didn't want to be. And so I think we have that mixture. And with our dads, when the male in your life is so important for women to have a male role model. I don't think we understand that as, I think we do as girls, like with your dad. Let's, you know, we can talk about your dad because you had your dad.
Right.
And your dad was great. And, you know, we talk about your parents a lot. And so you did have that male role model. Do you think it changed your life?
Oh, my dad, I am my father's child. That's what I tell everyone. I just admired my dad. I wanted to back up a little bit because I wanted to clarify when we were talking about having our children at a certain age and wanting someone to love.
Yes.
I had the greatest love for my parents, so I never lacked in that area.
Yeah.
But I think being a teenager, you know, you're very immature.
Oh, yeah.
And so your thought process is a little bit different. So,
Yeah.
but I get my strength from both my parents, but mainly my dad.
Yes. Yes.
I learned from him. I watched him. I raised my kids the way my parents raised us. So
See, that's wonderful.
My dad was a football coach and was probably the first feminist I ever met. He told me I could be whatever I wanted to be, and he gave me permission to think outside of the box. The first person I ever knew to do that. My mother was much more staid, very traditional, and when my father died, I lost that part of the parent package, and I found myself constraining myself much more and being much more inside the box to help my mom so that she wouldn't have to do so much work as a single parent. And that actually, I think, caused me to not focus on things I really wanted to do, but stayed a course that was more linear than maybe I would have stayed otherwise.
I have a question for you, ladies, and I'm going to ask each and every one of you individually. How did you come about in life? This is a hard question for everybody because everybody does it differently, getting out of your own way. Lisa.
for me, I'm an educated woman, but I've never felt like I have the education that others do. And I would look at other people and admire what they accomplished and thought because I didn't have that education that I would not be able to do what they did. So once I learned that we all have our different talents, and I had to recognize what mine was.
Yes.
And once I recognized that, then I was able to push through it, and I was just determined to prove to myself that I could be just as good as the next guy out there.
Yes, exactly.
But it took a lot of work.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one. And I think we've had that conversation before because we were talking about Ivy League schools, and we were talking about women who are very educated in terms of college and college educated women and how far they went. And listen, education does, as we find in life, it does not just lie in a book. That's why they call it sometimes when people are very educated, educated fool, things like that, book smart, but nothing else. Listen, there are two ways to be educated in life, and people bring things to your life, and as you get to know different people in life, that educates you even there further.
Right.
And
Right.
as you know other people's story,
Right.
sometimes when we don't know each other's story, it says a lot about what we think about a person, but what we don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So that's a great analogy. I think that's
I had to get past a lot of my insecurities, and once I got past that, then I feel like I was very successful in
You are,
moving
yeah.
forward.
Yes. I think you're great. Annie?
Same question.
Yes.
I think it's three things for me. It was acknowledging fear of failure. It was acknowledging fear of I told you so. And it was also acknowledging fear of the unknown. Three things I think that every human being goes through. Women have it more exacerbated because we have so many more constraints placed on us about how we're supposed to be. Men to some extent, boys to some extent, are encouraged to go out and find themselves and make mistakes, and society is so much more accepting of them when they do. Well, you
Yes.
tried, you did it. But when you're growing up female, doesn't matter what region of the country you're from, there's this expectation of perfection. And if you don't reach it, if you don't hit the mark, and this is true personally for me with not having children, if you don't reach that mark, you are not a complete woman. There's something wrong with you. And so then that really can distort your ability to try new things because you have this vision that there's only one way to succeed.
It's like fitting into a box.
Into a box. There's only one way to be a success. There's only one way to achieve victory in your life. And if you can't do that, then you can't do it.
And what is true victory? That's another good question. What is victory? We're not going to get off the subject because I do want you, Angie, and Salma to answer. But isn't that an individual thing? I was just having a discussion with someone and saying that a lot of people think it's money. A lot of people, I personally think it's health, because without your health, you can't make money. There's nothing you can really do if you're not healthy. So that has to be the number one priority, especially as we're getting older. And there are younger people who have lots of problems with their health, even more than just, getting older. People are born with certain things. People are born, can't do this or can't do that. And as we get older as women and we find our way through life and we navigate our she compass through life, we find that what was once important is not so important after all.
Yeah,
How many times have you come
definitely.
across that?
Definitely.
All the time.
All
Yeah.
the time.
Where these things that we think are so important in our lives, and then we wake up and go, you know what? Gee, what was I thinking?
Right.
That had no credence at all. It's really not important. So that's great.
So acknowledging those things and then facing them down and realizing everyone has to face them. And the worst thing that can happen to you if you try something new and you don't succeed You can try something else, or you can try it again. Particularly if you have a business of your own, you may
Exactly.
have several incarnations of your business before you get it to where you want it to be.
That's right. Well, you know, they say entrepreneurs at least fail 3 times. I would say more like 6.
I agree.
You know?
Right.
I
I don't
agree.
know where they get the 3 thing from, but because you're always constantly striving to be better,
Right.
but not so much. When I say better, I think better to yourself, because you give so much to your business if you're an entrepreneur, but you're striving to be better and kinder to yourself in the way that you do things, so it's not so detrimental to you, you know? Especially, as I
Right.
said, well, as we get older, we learn. And if we don't learn, that's a problem.
It is.
Yeah.
I
Because
agree.
everything is a learning tool. Everything.
Yeah.
I believe everyone you meet, I believe everything you do has a purpose. And if you're not aware and you're not conscious of that,
Right.
you're going to miss the point. You're going to miss it, because we're all here for a reason, and we all have greatness in us. So Angie, same question?
So for me, kind of to touch a little bit on what Ann said was, so my mom raised me, my mom and my grandmother actually, can't was not in our vocabulary. You couldn't say, I can't do that. You would get in trouble. It was you dream, you hope, and you continue to dream, and you tackle all of your fears and objections as they come at you, and you learn from it. So for me, going through, you know, I was employed at 14, and just, I loved to work. I loved to be able to help my mom, but I also loved to be able to buy the things I wanted.
Yes.
So me getting in my own way was not stopping. People tell me all the time, you need to step back. You're doing too much. You're doing too much for
You're being
everybody
too hard
else.
on yourself, yeah.
You've told me you're
Oh,
going to wear
yeah.
yourself down. You're going to
Yeah.
cry. And I'm just like, I'm not. And how I stop myself from getting in my way is I sit back and I pray. I literally pray.
Well, prayer is very important, because I always say to people, if we think we're in control of everything we do,
We're not.
and then we fail, who do we have to answer to?
Right.
Now, you know, this could be questionable for a lot of people. Spirituality, God versus
Meditation, whatever they do.
meditation versus the universe, the atmosphere, but whatever you believe, you have to believe that there's something greater than yourself
Yes.
Right.
that pushes you and strives you to be better and can hold you up when you can't hold yourself. Because
Right.
we're all going to come across that, where there's going to be a point where we're going to fall and we are not going to get up without
Right.
the answer to that question.
Yep.
Because you're going to ask that question
Yeah.
and you're going to look for that answer. And it's going to come from somewhere so deep down in you that you know that it has to be something way greater than yourself.
Right.
Okay, because when you look up at the
That's
moon and the
true.
stars and the sky, it didn't just, how did it get here? Okay,
Right.
it's not man-made. So I would say that, you know, people have their questions about spirituality. Everybody's different.
That's right.
Everything works differently for everybody.
That's why everybody's response is different to how they get out of their
That's
own
right.
way.
That's
And
right.
for me, no matter
Prayer.
what, it's prayer.
It's a powerful
It's my
thing.
meditation. It's my compass.
Yes.
It is my soul. So
Yes.
that's what helps me get better and better and better.
Yes.
And
that's
it's still not perfect.
Yeah.
But at least I know that there's a higher power that's going to guide me.
I think finding our she compass is never going to be perfection.
I agree.
Right.
I don't think we'll ever reach perfection, because if we could, what would we be looking
Then what else
for?
is there to do?
Yeah, what would we be
Right,
looking for? Like I
exactly.
tell people, you learn from everybody, right? And if you're the greatest, you can't learn anything anymore. So if you're up there, no one can teach you anything.
It's true.
Then
You're
what's
right.
the purpose?
That's right.
Stella, same question?
That's a very heavy question.
It is, isn't it?
And it gets heavier the older you are, I believe, because you have more experience and more knowledge. If I had to narrow it in, I would say my need to understand why has gotten in my way more than anything. and I say
Wow,
just the
that's
word
powerful,
why.
Yeah. Why?
I have the way my brain works. I mean, as a child, when if someone gave me a recipe
Right.
and said this recipe will make this cake,
Right.
most people would just follow the recipe.
Right.
I would always say, why am I using baking powder?
Right.
Why am I using allspice?
Wow.
What does this do? And if you had to explain
You
that
needed
to
that
me,
formula.
and then I could understand it. And even in debates or misunderstandings, like I'm not going to just because you say it, you need to show me that
Why
your
this
point is
works, right.
Right.
Well, because my brain works that way.
What
And
do you think that? Do you think that you just developed that as a
no,
child?
I know
or-
exactly where it comes from.
Oh, okay.
Because I was given misinformation.
Okay.
The messages that was given to me as a child was, if you do this, this, and that, if you stay on this path, you do the right thing, you have faith, you work, you take
Yes.
care of your kids, you don't go to jail, all those things will result in this. So 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 will equal this.
Okay.
So when that's put into your mind and you do all of these things you were taught to do, but the result is not what you thought the result
The
would be,
outcome, yes.
then you say, why?
Yeah.
Why? I'm a good person. Why? I was a great wife. Why? And there is, that has stood in my way and had stifled me for a long time, because then I was like, well, if I do all these things and the end result isn't what it should be, it threw me into a tailspin. So what I've gotten to a place now, which is the question is, how do you get out of your way?
Yes.
I've gotten to a place now where I just have to release it. Like what I do is the best that I can,
Yes.
and I am a fighter. I am a worker.
Yes.
I will work any human being down to the ground and do the best that I can, and then I release whatever the outcome is. I've done my best, but it holds you back when you're wondering why.
Well, that's a big burden to
It
put
is.
on yourself, because that's almost like saying anything is possible. Someone's telling you anything's possible, but the outcome is not, the results are not what you put in. So if you're putting so much in and you're not getting anything out, that's a perfect word. Why?
Why? Or you
Why?
get something back.
But
it's
but
not what you wanted.
Right,
Okay, you're getting some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But you're like,
But
okay, and then
it's not
you
what you
look back like,
expected.
okay, my peers or my
not working
cohorts,
out.
it's like, okay, these
Right.
people took the drug route, or
Right.
these people were criminals, or these people neglected their children.
Right.
I'm not better than anyone. I just followed the rules
Well,
that I was taught
Right.
to follow. So why now, when, like you said, we're at an age, we're not in our 20s or 30s where you
Right.
have plenty time to make it,
rethink
plenty
these
time
things.
to get on. It's like this, my mortality is very real to me daily.
Well, yeah, I always tell people, I always say I have more time behind me than I have
Than
in
you-
front of me,
yes.
no matter what.
Yes.
I mean, even if I lived out my lifespan of what's expected, I have more time behind me than I have in
Yes.
front of me.
Yes.
So what am I going to do with that time? I have to make that time more valuable
That's right.
than the time that I either felt like I wasted or felt like the time was just going by so fast. And then I got here. One day we
Yes.
all woke up and it was like, what? It felt like you were in a time warp. Like something just traveled, picked me up and just put me here. How did I get here?
And when you said the number one, when you're saying the importance of health,
Yes.
I think, I know that I've gotten to a place in my life where my goal is peace of mind.
Yes.
Just peace of mind.
Serenity, please. Yeah.
Not worrying about next
Where
month.
the
Not
next thing,
worrying
yes.
about, even, praise God, I don't have any health issues other than, but I don't want to get it next year.
Right,
I don't want
Right.
to worry about, am I going to, the worry. I just want to be able to feel that I've earned this point in my life to be peaceful.
Yes.
And that's including your health.
Well-
That's including your finances. I don't mean like how much money. It's just
Well, the fight.
I'm okay.
The whole fight.
Yes.
Because, a very popular saying was said a long time ago in a rap song: more money, more problems. It's really, that's real. The more you have, the more problems you're going to have with that. So when you throw your life into that time warp, you have to know that the responsibility is going to be great.
Right.
Are you up for the challenge?
Right.
Now, if you, and this I think is a compromise. It's a compromise, especially for women, because you have to think: do I want more, or do I need to just kick back and relax and live my
Yes,
life?
that's right.
What makes you happy? Walking out and laying out in the sun and having a great day and letting the sun hit your face, or busting the grind to have what? Have these things passed? Have these thoughts passed about what you want in your life? How different do we become?
Well, as in She Compass,
Yes.
that begs the question, who am I? What am I about? What is important to me? And how am I going to get to the place I think I want to be without killing other people or myself or making myself crazy? Because people have these projected views of what victory or success is, and one person's success may not be another person's success.
Right. As I said, yes,
Someone
you're
may
right.
need to live in a high-rise, $1 million condo.
Yes.
Another person wants a small cottage someplace where they can
Or a
make
tiny
their
house.
home.
Yeah.
A tiny
So
house.
it just
Yeah.
depends on what
Right.
you want, but
Right.
you have to, the hard part, I think, in terms of getting out of your own way, the hardest part is deciding what it is that you want.
Right.
And another factor is deciding where you are when you're there. It's almost like I said, so many things pass and they don't matter. So were we ever really where we wanted to be and just didn't realize it? Think about it. That's a tough question. Like, were we ever really there? Have you ever just woke up and said, hey, it was better 4 years ago. I didn't know this was going to happen. I would have took that, what I had then. Or is it a move on process where we just get better, where we just really get better? We get better at it, or we get better at taking it. As women, we take a lot. We're mothers, we work, we're daughters, we're friends. How much of ourselves can we really be and be complete? This is what She Compass is all about. Just being a complete you. Maybe it never comes to a point where you totally gotten out of your own way. But if you just gain
Work on it.
a little bit where you can work on it in a process, you get to learn yourself and know yourself better.
But just like all the experiences in the book led
Yes.
to that. So you go from point A to point
Yes.
B
Yes.
all the way down. So all of the experiences that are in the book
Yes.
That's true.
bring you to life and also
Bring
make
the
you
full
grow.
circle.
They
Yes.
grow.
Yes.
And you grow, and you like you said, you complete a full circle, and
People
now
teach-
you're
And this is the importance of being women. This is why this discussion is so important, because we all have something to bring to the table. Something that we say here today can change one of our lives in another way, just by hearing someone's
Right.
story, just by hearing their struggle. You know how sometimes people can say something and they'll say, God, my problem wasn't that bad.
right,
She went through that. I thought I went through something.
right.
So it's a sisterhood. It's a sisterhood where we embrace one another. We can be comfortable in our skin, talking about our own problems, talking about the things that are our weaknesses. Women need to be able to be in a environment where we can learn to trust each other enough to say what our weaknesses are without feeling like someone's going to attack us
Or judge
or judge us because we have that.
Right.
Well, you put that in the book, which is important because
Yeah.
you really cannot trust everybody. You
No,
can't.
you can't.
And as a woman and knowing women, there are a lot of women you can't just put yourself out there for anything and everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
My dad used to say discriminate for the best, and a lot of people think the word discriminate is a bad word. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. You want to choose like energies, or for me, I don't want to be full of parasites of people that are just trying to suck the life out of me.
Here's the thing, Selma. I think this is what we need to learn. Our pain sometime in life is the thing that keeps us in our own shadow
Right.
and doesn't allow us to move on. And when we have other women that we can feel comfortable about, even if it's just not everybody, but
Right.
just some.
Some.
And listening to the stories, even if you're not going to be friends with everybody,
Right.
everybody's not going to make a great friend.
Right.
People are in the learning process. We're at a different point in our life where someone's coming into these shoes.
Yes.
And they're going to say, maybe I need your help. Maybe teaching other younger women how to be better girls
Yes.
and grow up to be better women.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense too, because when you can teach a girl how to become a better woman, then she can teach others, and then we can stop all of this, because we
Being
have a
a
lot
leader
going
and
on.
being confident.
Yes, being confident in your own. When you have a lot of confidence in your own life, you can be confident. This concludes our first segment on finding your genius. We had so much footage that me and the ladies decided that we were going to have a part 2. Here's the book. We've been talking about this the whole time, Finding Our She Compass. This is a great book, and you can find it on Amazon, and I'm also on social media. You can find me there as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time.
Bye.